welcome back to Benisa Café. Today's guest is Amber, also known as Pam, and she is joining us today from Texas.
That's right. Yes, from Houston, Texas. I'm feeling like I'm back home. So like I spent a while out in Houston from like 2005 until about 2011,
Uh-huh.
and then I moved back again and spent like another year here, and then I moved to Round Rock, and I've been in Round Rock, Texas, for the past 8 years. So I just recently relocated to the Houston area, and have been here since the summer, and I'm feeling like I'm back home. Like, I love this city so much. I'm so excited to be here, so happy to have my kids here. So yeah, it's really nice.
Awesome. Did you go to school there? Is that how you ended up there?
Yeah, that is how I ended up here. So I when I graduated from Andrus in El Paso, Texas, I moved to Houston, Texas, because I attended Texas Southern University. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of track back a little bit. But let's go ahead and start off. Why don't you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm a Jane of all trades sometimes. I do so much. But yeah, so I am in HR. So I work in the corporate world, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I am a learning and development specialist for my company. This means that I help with new hire orientation. I help with employee onboarding, with ongoing training and development for employees. And my focus right now is actually manager development. So I host manager learning sessions, one-to-ones with managers. It's a lot of fun. And I have the opportunity to work with a lot of different members of the HR team, lots of different people in leadership. And I'm also fortunate enough to kind of be an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion as well on my team, which is a huge passion of mine.
Yeah.
And then outside of my 9 to 5, I also run my own business. So I help small business owners kind of get their social media content up to speed. I help them kind of really like settle into their niche so that they can propel and really expand their brand. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get to do and touch a lot of different things. I'm learning now to tap in more to my creative side, which is something I didn't really have the opportunity to do in my 9 to 5. So it's nice. It's like I'm branching out in all of these different ways. And then aside from all of the corporate work and the small business work, I'm also a mom, a very busy mom. So I have 2 boys and a girl, Jordan, Blake, and Blair. And they keep me extremely busy. And they are just a very dynamic group of kids. Like, I know that parents love to say, like, oh, my kids are the best kids. But I feel like I have like this amazing group of kids. They are super self-aware. They're so respectful, and just like so present in everything that they do. So yeah. And then aside from all of the mom stuff and the work stuff, I am also an advocate of self-care. So I make sure that I take time for myself whenever I have it. And if I don't have it, I'm going to make it. So
That's
yeah.
so important.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, including myself, sometimes I kind of put myself to the wayside because I have so many things to do and not enough time in the day, and to really stop and kind of reflect on your like mental health and just your overall health in general, and just kind of taking a breather will just ensure that you're in a better position to take care of others and your kids especially.
Yes.
I'm
It's very important. It's very important. And that's something that, anytime that I am working with a business owner who is a parent, this is something that I make them very well aware of. Like, if we are going to be working together, I need to know that you're making time for yourself, because I'm making time for myself to ensure that I'm bringing 100% of what I have to the table. when we're in collaboration together. So it's like one of the questions that I always ask to parents who I'm working with, and I do it even in my 9 to 5. I make sure that managers and employees know that it's you first, and then everything else will follow. So it's extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I'm gonna talk to you offline more about your business, your business venture. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I do have some
Yes.
possibilities to collab here.
Yeah. Okay.
So your choice of drink is the Texas pecan with almond creamer, but for today's podcast you picked Starbucks, and they were sold out of your preferred drink.
They were sold out of my preferred. Now, okay, but I'm gonna say that I got the apple crisp macchiato with oat milk, and it is amazing. I love it. It's so good. I didn't even know that it was gonna be an iced coffee, which I'm not normally a fan of iced coffee. I take hot coffee most times, but yeah, I don't know if I can show it.
Yeah,
it's so good. I love it. It's delicious.
So actually, let me tell you, the instructions said steamed.
I know. I saw that. And it's a macchiato. Macchiato.
But it's still the drink itself is not hot. It's supposed to be cold.
I thought it was supposed to be hot.
Yeah.
I thought it was hot when we looked at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're very busy. They're very busy. So we're gonna give them a pass.
Yeah. So just a little jog about Starbucks. The first Starbucks was opened in Seattle, Washington in 1971 by 3 partners: English teacher Jerry Baldwin, history teacher Zev Siegel, and writer Gordon Bowker. I hope I'm not messing up their names. Their first store was situated in Pike Place Market to sell high quality coffee beans and equipment, and they've definitely taken it
worldwide. So fun fact, I
I
grew up in Washington State, so I lived there for about 4 years, from the time I was 7, 8 years old until I was about 11 or 12, and I got to visit that Starbucks. So we would that was part of the field trips and things, excursions that we did in school. Yeah, so we went to Pike Place Market, and we got to go to that Starbucks, and there's a bunch of other things to see there. But yeah, so fun fact.
That's cool. I guess you would think that I can see where they're making it a big deal, because I mean they just they're extremely successful and they're all over the world. So that's the Chick-fil-A here. Chick-fil-A is it's everywhere. But yeah, so Starbucks they have an amazing business model. Something that I learned in my travels now as an adult who drinks coffee is that coffee is different all over, which is I think it's part of your podcast as well, which I think is so interesting. But the Starbucks in Italy. I went to a Starbucks in Italy thinking okay, I'm going to drop in here before I go to this trade show. And it was not the same at all. And if you know anything about Italians and the way that they take their coffee, it's significantly smaller than what, Americans are used to. And the experience in the Starbucks is completely different. It's you get the flute trays where you can try all of these different coffees. They don't really sell them as big as we take them. So it was a very interesting experience, because I did not expect. I was I'm going to run in here, I'm going to grab my coffee, head to the trade show. And then I went in there, and it was a library for coffee. It was so cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was very neat.
I guess that would make sense, because they would have to adapt to that culture and stuff, and what that tradition looks like with the coffee drinkers or whatnot. And wow, I'll have to actually take a look, because last time I went to Germany, when I went by a Starbucks, I was I don't want it, because it's it's the same thing. I want something that's different,
right?
But I will definitely pop my head in next time. And
because it's not here it's everything is so fast. here for us. So it's like grab and go, and it's not like that. It's an entire lounge experience. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, they're just chilling, they're trying out different coffees. And, you know, for us, like, I mean, in the time that I've been sitting here, they probably had about 40 or 50 guests. You know, people come in and out to grab coffee and go. The experience was not like that at all in Italy. It was like, you come in, you get your seat, you sit down, you try the different flavors that they have, and that's what it is.
Wow.
So cool.
So do they have a server there that comes
Yep.
like and waits like at the table?
Yes. Yeah. It's like a lounge experience. It is not like this at all.
That's cool. That's cool. I definitely have to check that out. You know, everything is so different. And I know you grew up in Germany. You lived in Germany some for a while too, and just coming like leaving Germany and coming here, and then just seeing how like all the sizes, like you mentioned, like the sizes in a fast-paced life, everything is so different. Like the large cup in Germany is the medium cup here. So when I first saw like that big old like, I'm like, what is this?
It was such a cool, and I tell people, like, I mean, I grew up all over, but I do feel like I grew up in Germany because that was like my adolescence. So it's really like those monumental, like, forming years of your life. That's where I was. So I do feel like I grew up in Germany, and I do feel like the experience that I had there definitely shaped who I am. And so coming back to the United States after having been in Germany and having access to so many different things and seeing so many different things, it was a culture shock for me. My family and we actually got sick our first night back home because we were so used to eating the food there that like I think we went to McDonald's. I feel like it was McDonald's that we went to. And we got what we would normally get there, and we were sick to our stomachs. And I don't want to maybe we need to edit that part out. I don't want them coming after me if they hear that. But like, we got so sick, and we were sick for days after having that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's because like the portions were so big, the drinks were so big, and I'm sure the content in the food is a lot different, right? But it was definitely a culture shock. I'm like, I needed a car to get everywhere. I couldn't even drive. I didn't even have a car. And I'm like, if I was in Germany, I could just walk to the market. I could go get whatever I wanted to get. But it was definitely a huge change.
Especially
coming back
where we lived, right?
Yeah.
Where we lived, it was like 5 miles away from.
Honestly, I feel like we would have done better. Like, why couldn't we have been stationed in like Kentucky or somewhere where like things are like just compact? Like, we get stationed in Texas, which is like the biggest state in the United, one of the biggest states in the United States. Everything is so far away. So it was different. Everything was very different. It was an adjustment to make, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But even that neighborhood, it was so far away from everything.
Yeah, it was.
I actually remember walking one time. I wanted to go get something and nobody could take me. And so I was like, man, this is nothing. I'll walk. Yeah. And, you know, my mother-in-law was like, are you sure you want to be out there in the heat and like walk? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm used to walking everywhere in Germany.
Man,
and
it is not the same.
I walked to Walgreens, like that was like, you know, at that first like area where there's things.
Yep.
And then I took the bus back. I was like, I am not walking again.
It was too much. I was like, I knew for sure in that moment that my parents hated me. I was like, there's no way you love me, because how would you take me? How do you take me from this, like, being able to just navigate and maneuver? And I mean, like, we would be gone for an entire day, you know, like my sister and I would get up, we would walk downtown, and we would like literally spend the whole day swimming or shopping or, you know, just exploring the city. And so to go from that to the desert.
Yeah, I know. And
like,
the worry, right? There was no worry that something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
It just, you had that sense of security and safety that, Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always a great memories to look back on.
For sure. I enjoyed my time there. So,
yeah. So tell me, what was that experience like moving around, with your dad being in the military?
Yeah. So, for me, it was okay. Like the personality type that I have is one that is extremely adaptable. And I embrace change. So for me, it was not difficult to move around, and I kind of felt like I had the opportunity to. It was always a fresh start for me, and I feel like even now as an adult, like I do that day by day. Like every day for me is a new day, and I don't hold on to, the stress or the negative or whatever that happened yesterday doesn't get to come with me to the next day. So as a child, moving around a lot was a little bit uncomfortable just because, like, okay, if it's in the middle of the school year and I was a stickler about my grades and about, being able to be in the class and excel. So that part was the part that I didn't like as much, was like having to move and change school districts and, having to get to know whatever the material is again.
Yeah.
But as far as like having to detach myself from people, I have no problem with that. I didn't struggle with that part as much. Like, of course, I made friends, and as I got older, that became easier as technology developed for me to keep in touch with people. We've stayed in touch all these years, and I have friends that I grew up with in Germany that are still very good friends today. Like some people I've known 20 plus years. So it wasn't hard for me to move around from the people as much as it was for me to have to get used to the new routine. That was more so what I struggled with. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I looked at it as like this amazing opportunity. I knew that, the world is a huge place, and to have a dad who was in the Army was an extreme blessing for me because I had access to so much stuff and so many different cultures, and just had the opportunity to learn far more than, the typical person my age. Like I've seen, I don't even know how many countries I've seen, in my life, like just as a child. So yeah, it was a good thing for me. I appreciated it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, you can see a huge difference between people that are well-traveled or have experienced other cultures versus people that have like lived in the same city all their lives, and they maybe have traveled to like, the outskirts of the city or something.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it definitely shows because I, had the opportunity to meet so many different people and be exposed to so many different cultures at a young age. I think it really like drove home for me the idea of diversity. Like that wasn't so foreign to me, and even now, like as an African American woman in the corporate world, working with people, like teaching others about psychological safety and talking to others about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how these are all very different key pieces of the, how the corporate world should function, is like, to me, it's second nature. It's actually first nature to me, because I haven't, I didn't grow up in an environment where I only saw one type of person. Like I was exposed to a bunch of different races, a bunch of different cultures, ethnicities. And so I see so much value in what everybody can bring to the table. And it's not even about just like that particular culture, because there's diversity in thinking, there's diversity in the work ethic that you bring, there's diversity in the way that you approach or tackle a project. So I can see all of that, like I actually, the other day I sent my team this video that I found on the Shade Room, I think it was, of this guy he's from Philadelphia, but he's living in Florida, right? And I don't know if you've seen it, but he like traps a gator in a trash can, right? No. He traps a gator, and like we see all the time, like, oh, gator loose, bit guy's hand or whatever. Like there's wild alligators, and this is something that the Florida community is used to. But I sent this to my team, and I was like, this is a lesson in diversity. Because this gentleman is from Philadelphia. and he's living in Florida, but he has a different way that he's approaching this situation. Like he approached this alligator, this wild alligator, with his garbage can on the ground, and he's got like the lid is back, and he's like pushing it to it, and he's telling everyone like when its head goes inside the can, tell me. And so he gets close enough to it, and they're like, the head's in the can, and he flips the top, and he traps the alligator inside the trash can and turns it up. And then he's just walking around with this gator in the. But to me, that's an opportunity for a lesson in diversity, because he comes from the outside, right? Yeah. They live in this bubble, they live inside of this box, and they deal with this all the time, and they deal with it the same way that they deal with it all of the time. But he's coming from the outside with this innovative, fresh thinking on how to approach the same situation, and he did it within a matter of seconds. Like, it wasn't even a minute long video, like maybe it was like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, if that. But I was just like, this is a lesson in diversity. Like, this is why it's important to pick and play and have people that come from various different backgrounds and have various different beliefs, because this is what they can do for us,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my soapbox on diversity.
Thank you for sharing. I have not. I'll have to look that video up and see. But that exactly, because somebody in Florida, or somebody that is accustomed to living around them, or is, they may would have, I don't know, chopped them up, or tried to kill them or whatever, and he found a very safe way of trapping the alligator. So that's really cool.
Exactly.
So what are things that you look back on today that you believe shaped you as a mom?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. I mean, for me, honestly, it probably would just have to be my entire childhood. Like, I feel like I learned so much about how to take care, and what it really, let me say, what it feels like to take care and project your love. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I would have to say, there are pieces of my childhood that really just let me know, man, I could not wait. When I was a kid, I honestly could not wait to be a mom. I would talk to my mom about this all the time, and she will tell you, Amber was obsessed. I was obsessed with becoming a mother. I couldn't wait for this day to happen for me. And I would play with my little sister, do her hair and do certain things with her that, I was really practicing on her how to be a mom. And then when I had my first son, it was oh my gosh, this is real. This is not a joke. This is real. Now it's time for me to really dive all in. I have to protect this person. I have to teach this person. And I think looking back as a child, I kind of fetishized the idea of being a mom. But then the moment I became a mom, that's really when all of this stuff came flooding into me. You are responsible for this, you're responsible for that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And anyone who knows me will tell you, I am so serious about my children and about their future, about what I'm teaching them. I take every single moment as an opportunity to show them something, expose them to something. Even when we're watching movies, and my kids hate this, when we're watching movies and a point comes up, I pause the TV.
I was going to ask.
I pause the TV and I'm like, is everybody understanding what just happened? Did you guys catch that? How do you feel about that? And the kids, every time I pause it, they're like, oh, we already know, please just push play. And I'm like, no. I need to make sure that you understand this concept. I am so type A when it comes to my kids. My children have jobs in the home. So I had a job fair, and I hired them, interviewed them, hired them, assigned them roles. They have employee IDs, they have employee folders. It's a very serious thing in the house. And it's good for me, right? Because I really don't have to do too much of the housework.
Uh-huh.
But on the other end, the benefit is like my children are learning how to manage money. They're learning how to save money. They're learning how to be a part of a team and collaborate because, some of the things that they do, they have to do together. They're learning about time management. They're building their resume. Like there's so many benefits that have come from me doing this. But again, it just goes back to like, the huge responsibility that I feel in making sure that my children have all of like every bit of information that I have in me, or that even comes to me, new things that I learn, I'm like figuring out ways to regurgitate that and give that to them, expose that to them, because I feel like I need to make sure that they're prepared in a way that I really wasn't. And that's not, that's not a dig or anything against my parents, but we teach what we know. And if we're not exposed to it, then how can we really, we can't really share that information. Or if we're exposed to it and it's new to us, it's difficult to, reteach that to someone else. So I'm like, every little bit of information I get my hands on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids are going to need this in 10 years. I'm teaching it to them today. I'm like, they're going to learn it. They're going to learn it today. They're going to see it today. But yeah, like anyone who knows me will tell you, like she does not play about her kids. She does not play about their education, about their experiences. Like I'm doing my best though now to like dial back the control because, my oldest is 12. So now we're getting to the point where it's like the individuality, well, really all of them show so much personality, but I'm doing my best to really give them the space that they need to kind of, make certain decisions or do certain things, just so that they can have that level of individuality, because I will not be able to control every single step. Like we know, like I'm not going to be able to control every single thing that they're doing, but I just need to give them that foundation. I feel like I'm solid on that. Yeah.
So tell me, you implemented that. How long has it been? I feel like at least a year, right?
It's been 2 years. So it's been 2 years since they got hired. And so we've switched jobs quite a few times. We've done cross training. We've talked about taxes now. We'll be looking into invest. So soon, the next step is investing for them, because the app that we use is called Greenlight, and that's like the system that I use to pay them. So Greenlight came out with a new function of their member program, which is investing for kids. And so like that's the next step that we're going to take, is like showing them where to put their money. But I'm still learning that myself. So I'm like, I barely played around with Dogecoin for a little bit and then got scared and cashed out too soon. I made a pretty good amount of money, but I was so nervous. So I was like, I'm going to take it out. I'm putting this away because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, so the next step is going to be investing, but they've been doing it for 2 years and they enjoy it. So like, I ask them for feedback. I do. So I feel like I really run my family like a business. It's like HR. Like I have meetings with the kids and we talk about, like, we have family meetings and we talk about how they're feeling about things. Like what jobs do they enjoy doing? What do they not enjoy doing? How can we, help make it better? What is motivating to them and things like that. So we have a lot of very candid and open conversations about what's working for them and what's not working for them. And like even one time we had a discussion about how frequently they're having to do the work. And one of the kids was like, I feel like it would be better if you let us choose the day or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, like what days and what times are you thinking? And when I said that, then my oldest was like, don't answer that question, because the minute he was like, it's a trick. She's gonna be a schedule. Don't just keep doing what you're doing. It was so funny. But I was like, yeah, so tell me, what schedule would work for you? And then the oldest is like, do it. Don't say, he was like, don't say another word. We got to talk about this together, y'all. And then we'll come back to mom after we come to an agreement, but don't say anything right now. It was so funny. But yeah, so I tried to check in with them, give them feedback, making sure that, you know, if it's something that they've never done before, that I'm teaching them and having the patience, because I think when it comes to chores and like household duties, I think that's where a lot of parents get burnt out, right? Because you're like, you've seen me do the dishes, so do the dishes, right? But it takes adults about 7 times to learn something, right? On average, it's about 7 times. And for most of us, we already have the hand-eye coordination, you know, like we know how to handle things. Things are not too heavy for us. We're tall enough to reach up, you know, certain things that just, you don't even think about that a child hasn't experienced or hasn't even grown into yet. So it's really like about having the patience and knowing that if you're going to introduce these chores to them, there's still going to have to be some you know, enforcement behind that. Like, you're still going to have to continue training them because they're kids. They're not going to get it like, the house is never spotless, right? Like, there are still things that I have to go behind them and do, or I bring them with me and I'm like, hey, you know, you did a great job here. But when you're working in this area, this is how, you know, it should be like X, Y, and Z, and make sure that you've liked this and make sure that you've picked up this. So I think that the patience part is where a lot of parents miss out on this opportunity. But I couldn't imagine having children leave the home and them not knowing this stuff. Like, in college, I came across a lot of different people who didn't really know how to clean, or maybe they did, but you know, you just do your own thing, you know, like you're learning because you're on your own. And so you kind of probably just let things slide. But I just need to make sure that I have some functional adults.
Absolutely.
All the way across the board. Yeah, like they know how to cook certain things. Blair, not quite, because she's still a little too young. She can do things in the microwave. But yeah.
So what have they taught you?
Oh my gosh. We actually talked about this. So my kids and I, there's this card deck. It's called Better Self. And it's a card deck that it's like random questions that you ask the kids. Well, I use it to ask the kids. I don't normally let them ask me, because I tell them, like, I'm very vocal, so I'm always going to tell you what I need from you, what I expect from you, but it may not be the same. So these questions are more for me to ask them so that they, you know, teach me. And this was one of the questions. It's like, what have you learned the most from in your life, or what experience have you had that you gained the most knowledge from? And that was asked to the kids, and they gave their answers, and they were like, we kind of want to hear this one from you too, because we don't think we've ever heard this answer from you directly. And so I was like, you guys, y'all are the thing in my life that has taught me the most. Like, I feel like I've learned so much about myself as a person in handling and, you know, raising children. Like, all of their personalities are so different, but it's like each of their personalities are derivatives of me as a whole, which is so crazy to see, because like, I have Jordan, who is the calm, reserved, cool and collected. Like, he's going to take his time to think about things. He's going to take his time to respond. And when he does respond, it's going to be quiet, like, you know, like mellow, monotone voice. And then there's Blair, who is like an absolute diva. She like demands attention no matter the setting. It's like, hello, I'm here, I have arrived. And so like, her personality is very boisterous and very loud. And then there's Blake, and Blake is a comedian. Like, he loves to make people laugh. He loves to cook. He loves to eat. And I'm like, all of them are these segmented pieces of the person that I am as a whole. And so I feel like they've just mirrored me very well. Like, I was so worried after having Jordan. I was like, I don't know, how can I be a mother of multiple children? You know, like, while I'm pregnant with Blake, I'm like, so scared, because how am I going to be able to give them both the attention they need? How can I, you know, love them both equally? What if they're different? That was my big thing. It's like, what if their personalities are too different, and I don't know how to like mesh, and I can't like really meld between the two of them. And then, you know, I'm like, they're all me. Like everybody, everybody is me, but I feel like they're me at different points in my life, you know, like, or really probably in different settings, right? Like Jordan is me at work, or when I'm doing business, you know, or when I'm researching something. Blair is me, like when I'm having fun, I'm out with the girls or whatever, you know, like it's a night out and I'm like, yeah, like, hello, I'm here. And then Blake is me when I'm like hosting, or, you know, any time that I'm like dealing with the children. I feel like Blake's personality is the one that I'm tapping into the most. Like we laugh so much together. We're always cooking. Like my kids are always like, oh, can you make us this? Can you do this? Can you do this? You know, so that is always a thing. But yeah, it's like they've taught me so much about the person that I am as a whole, and how I can really use my energy to my advantage in these different situations to help make myself comfortable. And so I just love that. Oh my gosh. I love being a mom. It's so amazing. It's like the best journey that I have ever been on in my life, to be a mother and be in charge and like be in the front, you know, like with these 3 kids behind me cheering me on, watching me go is like just, it's powerful to me. So
yeah, that's awesome. I met them once when I was stopping in at your mom's house.
Yeah,
just like not your typical children. they weren't like, you know, like kids their age can be like hyper and wild, so to speak, you know. And there were several kids at her house that day, but you could definitely tell which ones were yours, because they were more like more like controlled. Like I would say that they controlled their
my kids are really good about that. Like, and to be completely honest, like I don't do like corporal punishment, you know, like I don't whoop my kids. Like I don't put hands on them. I don't put hands on them. I may threaten if they get out of line, but I've never really had to enforce that with my kids. But it's just always been like, and I think again it goes back to just the enormous amount of like love and attention that I made sure to put into them has really helped to not have to have like, and I know kids will be kids, so I wouldn't have been mad if they were jumping and running around, because I expect that, especially at those ages. But I feel like just the level of attention that I gave to them and the type of personality that I have and their personality types, just the dynamic of respect and like dominance and submission, just it works so well, because it's like my kids will not step out of line. Like they're not gonna do it. Like they may like they might wiggle in their seat, but if we're out somewhere or if we're, you know, having company, like my children are very respectful, very reserved. They'll wait their turn to speak. Something that always shocks people is like my kids ask for water to drink, and people are like, water? And I'm like, well, yeah, like my kid, they only really get juice or any type of like sugary drink with dinner, you know, like they don't get it all the time. So if it's not time for dinner, they're not going to ask for a juice. But my kids are like, they're very much like me. They listen very well.
That's good. You're setting a great foundation for them, you know. And they can only benefit from that as they become adults.
I'm trying to make sure that they understand that there is a time to respect authority, but then there's also a time to challenge. Like I give them space to challenge me in healthy ways, because I feel like that was something that I missed out on. Like I didn't really learn how to assert myself until I was well out of college. I feel like it probably didn't even happen for me until after I had Blake. It was probably around the time that I really started to become assertive and like really stand up for myself. So that is one thing that I will say that I'm trying to like instill in them, like, it's okay for you to listen. But when you feel that you need to challenge or you need to speak out against something doesn't seem fair, like, you're well within your rights to bring that to me in a respectful manner, in a communicative manner. Like, I'm not going to take it in, a disrespectful setting, like you're screaming at me, or because I don't do that to you. So you come to me and you just tell me, like, Mom, I didn't think it was fair when X, Y, and Z. An example of this would be the blinds around the house. Like, how you can pull on the blinds and draw them up, right? So there's like this little holder that like unclips very easily and comes off. Okay. So I'm like walking around my house, and because every morning I open up the blinds and I'm like, why is this clip? The clip is gone and the strings are like all the way in. And so I'm like, Blair, cut these. Like, I immediately just Blair cut the blinds. And so I'm like, Blair, I'm going off. Blair, why did you cut the blinds? I told you not to mess with the scissors. And she's like, Mommy, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. And I'm like, no, I saw you with the scissors. You were walking around cutting random pieces of paper. So I just know, and I'm like charging her up about it. And then later on in the day, I was pulling I think I was drawing the blinds in Blake's room or something. And the thing broke off, and she was there with me, and it broke off into my hands. And when it broke off into my hand, then, the strings went up, and I was just like, oh. And Blair was like, yeah, Mommy, I tried to tell you. See, I tried to tell you, but you didn't listen to me, but I didn't cut them. So I think now you owe me an apology. I was like, you're right. I should have listened. I was like, you're right. I'm sorry that I blamed you. It wasn't your fault. Now I see. And she was like, yeah, thank you. But, like situations like that where retrospect, if I were like her age, like if we flipped the tables and I was my mom and she was my age, I would have never been brave enough to say that, and it wasn't a disrespectful thing. She didn't say like, like she didn't cuss me out. She didn't say you're stupid. Like, she just she asserted herself and let me know, like, you kind of owe me an apology now because you blamed me for something and you were upset with me for something that I didn't even do. So yeah, it's like, assertiveness is something that I need them to have, because I need them to know that everybody is not right and everybody does not have your best interests at heart. So you need to always check with yourself. When someone tells you to do something, demands that you do something, you need to check into yourself. Does this feel right? Does this sound right? Do I want to do this? And then you approach the situation after that. Yeah.
I personally think that I don't know. I think that it needs to end with our generation. It's happening way too much across the board.
Yep.
We definitely have to teach our children, because I mean, regardless of what culture you're from or where you grew up, everybody was taught to never question an adult, and to just do as I say. Don't talk back, and that just sets them up for failure.
It really does. It really does. What it turns into is docile conformance, and that's how I was operating. Like, I just listened to whoever I viewed as the authoritative figure in my life, and it didn't matter who that person was. Like, it didn't matter who that person was. If I felt that you had authority in some manner, or you, in my eyes, were in some way more senior than me, whatever was requested, I was going to do. So it becomes docile conformance, and then you become stagnant because you're not pushing yourself, you're not expanding, you're not growing, you're just doing what people are telling you to do. So yeah, I don't want that to perpetuate. I'm definitely ending that. And my children don't even see that side of me. Like, I don't think that they even view me as a docile person. Like, anytime that we like mimic each other, or we're like pretending to be somebody, like whenever my daughter pretends to be me and she dresses up, it's always like, yeah, okay, great. Well, I need you to do this for this project. Like, she's like mimicking me, but it's always like in a boss mode. And
Yeah.
I think that is so, for me, that's so cool. It's never like, oh, I'm mom and I'm washing the dishes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's just that, you know, like her the way that she views me is very much a person of power, and that lets me know that she sees herself in that light too. So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's see. So your health was really impacted, right, after you contracted coronavirus.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing your experience?
I'm definitely open to doing that. So I caught COVID at the end of January, and I actually thought that I had like a virus, like not COVID, but like a stomach virus or something, because my initial symptom was not headache or fever; it was vomiting. So I spent like an entire day throwing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have stomach flu. And so I want to say, so that was like Saturday and Sunday. I spent all day in bed. The next day, or on Monday, I had new hire orientation, and you know, like that was one of the major functions of the role that I do. So I had new hire orientation, which I typically go into the office to conduct. And I got up that morning. I tried to get up at my normal time, which is 5 a.m. because I normally like meditate and journal in the morning. And I was just so tired. And I was like, oh, I don't have the energy to do that today. So I slept a little bit longer until about 6. And I got up to start getting ready. I couldn't even stand up to brush my teeth. And my head was hurting so bad. And I was like, this is weird. Like, this is strange. I've never felt this way before. So I had to send a message to my team, let them know, like, I won't be in. Someone's going to have to do orientation today, and I'll keep y'all posted, but I'm not feeling well. I took my temperature, and it was like 99.7. It wasn't that high. So I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's COVID. Maybe I'm just still, having issues from the stomach virus that I thought I had. Well, the next day, I couldn't get out of bed at all. My fever went from that 99 to about 103. And that's when I was like, okay, like I probably have COVID. So I let the team know again, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be in. I'm going to have to get tested. And it took me a few days before I could even gather the strength to drive myself to a facility. Since I was already not feeling well, I kept the kids home. I didn't send them to school just because of the stomach virus. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, I'll keep y'all home. Y'all can do virtual school until we know for sure. So a few more days go by. I got tested. Test comes back positive. The kids get tested. Everybody except for Jordan is positive. And from there, it just was downhill for me. The kids, I think maybe Blair complained of a headache, and that was the most of the symptoms that I saw in them, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
So I had this headache that honestly, and it just ran from like across my forehead was where the headache was located. And I can't even describe it. It was a pain that I had never felt. And I have had 3 children naturally. Okay. It was a pain I have never felt in my life. I couldn't sit up in the bed. Anytime that I sat up, the headache got worse. I was unable to break my fever. I tried Tylenol. I'm allergic to ibuprofen, so I couldn't try that. So I took Tylenol to try to break the fever. It took a number of different cold medicines. It didn't help. And then eventually the fever broke. Maybe after about a week, my fever went away, but the headache stayed. The weakness, the fatigue, the sore throat, stuffy nose, all of that remained for about 3 weeks. And then at that time, I was like, okay, I don't have the headache anymore. The stuffy nose is gone. I can kind of move around a little bit. So I tried to go back to work. And I went into like my first meeting post-COVID, not in office, but a virtual meeting. Yeah. And I could not complete my sentences. Like the way that I'm sitting here speaking to you about 6 months ago would have been a struggle for me. I could not speak full sentences at all. I could not remember the next word. In my train of thought, it would just go blank in an instant. And I would be stuck going, and they would be like, okay, Amber, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Like, it was terrible. So I ended up taking an additional leave. Like, I went to see my doctor, talked to my doctor, and she let me know that I was suffering from what they call long-haul COVID symptoms. And this went on for months. So again, I contracted COVID at the end of January, and I did not go back to work until mid-April. Mid-April was when I ended up going back to work, because in that time, when I tried to go back, which was probably too soon, that sent my body into shock. And so then for another 2 weeks, I wasn't able to get out of the bed. I was bedridden again. I went to the hospital a couple of times. My oxygen levels were normal, even though I always felt like I couldn't catch my breath. It was always a struggle just to stand. I was keeping track of my heart rate with my Apple Watch, and I would get from the bed with my heart rate being at about 80 resting. This is resting. It's about 80 beats per minute, and it would shoot up from 80 to like 120 just trying to walk to the bathroom. Yeah, it was so crazy. I couldn't remember my address. I couldn't remember my phone number, my birthday. Like, having, like when you're going through this, if you have an employer who allows for short-term or has short-term disability, you have that as a benefit for you. Mm-hmm. Then you have to be in communication with these people, right? You have to give them updates about what's going on. And in order for you to do that, part of that is the verification. Like, you have to verify who you are. And so I would struggle to verify my address, to verify my birthday, my social security number, things like that, for these people who needed to, speak to me in order to be able to help me. So I had to start leaving myself notes. And probably by like the end of March, I got so frustrated, because I was like, I'm stuck like this. Like, how long is this going to be? Yeah. And I feel like I had tried everything, like my diet overall is pretty clean. Like, I'm vegan, for the most part. I eat cheese sometimes, but I eat very well and very clean. So I'm like, my diet is already where it should be. And I know like the exercise piece is missing, but I can't do that safely. My heart rate is skyrocketing just from walking. So I was like, I need to figure out what I can do that's going to help me get back into my routine and like out of this fog, because every day it was like waking up and my brain was just not, I wasn't there. Like, I felt every day like I was watching myself. Mm-hmm. It was weird. It was like every day I'm watching myself like go through these motions, and I want to tell myself like, this is this and this is that, but I like that communication, that connection was not there. So so at the end of March, I was like, I'm gonna get a puppy. Which I know like so many people did this during COVID. Like, you get what's the meme is like air fryer a new baby or a pet. But yeah, so I was like, I'm going to get a puppy, because, the kids were back in school. I'm like, I'm here by myself. So I need somebody or something to be here that can help me, be able to focus on the day to day. So I ended up finding our puppy that we have now. She's a Chihuahua mix. And I don't know, I guess like, being able to connect with her and like petting her and cuddling her and playing with her daily, like, all of that, the good hormones, the serotonin and all of that is flowing and helping me get into like this happy space. And then because she's a puppy, well, really because she's an animal, like she's gonna make me do certain things, right? Like she's gonna remind me it's time to feed her, it's time to take her out for a walk. And so having her really helped to like get me back into the routine of things. And she was very young. She was about 7 weeks when I got her. So, she wasn't walking far. And so I think that helped also with me being able to like gently push myself, to get like my endurance to get stronger and stronger to be able to move around, because at first it was just like this smaller area. And then, like as she grew, then she would go a little bit farther. And so I would go a little bit farther with her so on. So yeah, but it was very scary. I am not playing around with it at all. I am fully vaccinated, but I am still taking every precaution that I can. My children are still in virtual school. I'm still avoiding, huge crowds, especially in contained spaces. I'm still like being careful about going to the grocery store. Like I'm trying to continue to remain safe, because that experience that I had, and it took me months to come out of, I never want to have that again, whether I have the vaccination or not.
Right.
I don't even want to risk it.
Yeah. I didn't even know that could happen to someone contracting the virus until you posted about it on Facebook.
I didn't know either. And, I also lost a lot of my hair. And I'm learning now that was related to the shock that my immune system went through. Like my hair fell out. It was so like disheartening. I was just in shock because, I went natural. I went natural in 2013. So for 8 years now, I've been growing my hair, no heat, no chemicals. And my hair was so long and so full. And now it's very thin. It's longer now, but it's super thin now because it's like it's trying to get back to itself. But yeah, I had lost about 10 inches.
Wow.
About 10 inches because my hair, I lost about 10 inches in one area, like in the back right of my head. My hair went from like here to like here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And some spaces were actually bald, but it's growing back now. So that's the good thing. Like I'm able to do my hair is going to be in braids and stuff for a while, like as I treat my hair and get it back to its healthy state. But yeah, there was so many things that I had no idea. Like even like issues with my skin and just hormones being completely out of balance because of this. Like this, I know that there are people who were fortunate enough for it to impact them as if it were just the flu. Like,
right.
I even saw that in my own home with my children. Like it didn't take them long to get over what it was. But then there are individuals like me, and we really don't know the details behind it. We're still learning, how does it impact people in that way so differently? But yeah, so then you have people who are like, they're down for a few days and then they're right back up and they're fine. And then there are people who were like me, and that's kind of like the middle ground. Like I was okay. I didn't have to be hospitalized, but I had those long haul symptoms. And even still, there are some things like certain smells that smell weird to me. Things like peanut butter tastes strange to me. It doesn't taste the same that it used to taste before, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then you have the extreme cases, the people who are on the ventilators and people who end up passing from it. So I don't know, the nature of it is just so odd.
Yes, I completely agree. It's like, I just don't understand, like what is this made of that is
honestly
affecting people?
Honestly,
that's in so many different ways.
In so many different ways. And I saw, like I said, I saw it in my own home. It wasn't like, oh, I'm telling a person on the street, well, this is what happened to me. And they're like, oh, well, I was fine. No, I saw that in my household. Like one child complained of a headache. And it was so funny because, I was quarantined to my bedroom. And so then I got Blair's results and I'm like, you have to be in here with me. And, Blake was teasing her because he's like, you have to be in the COVID room, whatever. And then his results came in shortly after hers. And I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? And he's like, no, he had no symptoms at all. None. He didn't even have he didn't have a fever, nothing. Blair had a headache, slight fever, and then I was done. I was so out of it. Like it was so hard for me to focus on anything except breathing. Like that was really all of my energy was like, just breathe and calm your hearts.
Yeah. So that is where all the teachings came in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Because Jordan, he was so my boss and my colleagues actually sent us dinner, and some other people dropped off food for us, and so he would like prep things for us and let us know that it was out there, and then he would go to his room, and so then we would go and get our plates. And it was funny because there was one time that Blake was out in the kitchen like making himself something really quick, and Jordan came out at the same time, and he's like peeking from behind his door, and he was like, did you Lysol? He's like telling Blake, you need to wipe that down before you leave out of there. And and he's coming out, he's got his mask on, walking around the house, and he's like wiping stuff down. And yeah, so this was also during Black History Month, which like I do a whole education program with my kids during Black History Month. So like every day we learn about a different person or topic or event or whatever. And so while we're doing our Black History lessons, then Jordan is like sitting outside the door, and Blake is like teasing him, like he's acting like he's gonna touch him, and Jordan's like, I'm just gonna go to my room, just FaceTime me, I'll do the lesson from my phone. Because Blake is like acting like he's gonna touch him. But yeah, Jordan was negative. He didn't even catch it. So you see how strange that is.
Yeah, in the same household.
All in the same house. I had it, I was done for. Blair had it, she had a headache. Blake had it, no symptoms at all. Not a single sign that he had it. And Jordan tested negative.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
But I'm so glad that you are feeling better, and that they are fine and nothing serious happened to them. Yeah. That unknown kills me. I cannot, like, I take precautions also. And I've distanced myself from people. And even when I was working in the hotel industry, I came across a lot of people, but I just made sure that everybody was sanitizing, had our guards up, and no one could come into the hotel without a mask on. I took very strict precautions. Yeah. But here, when I moved to Atlanta, back to Atlanta, it was like, oh my God, what is going on here? Are you guys not in a pandemic? Did you not get the memo here?
No, that's definitely how Texas is as well. So there are some places that I go to and I'm just like, nope, I have to leave because there are too many people without, or just too many people in one area. And it really it gives me anxiety because I know what I went through. And I'm like, I don't want to have that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I also feel extremely responsible, for keeping other people safe as well. Like now that I've had that experience, I don't want anybody to, go through that at my hand. So it's like, I'm gonna take the precautions, and if that means that I have to sit in my house, I'm a homebody anyway. So this pandemic actually was beautiful for me. I'm sorry to the people who are extremely social creatures and, you need that person-to-person interaction. But for me, this has been so nice to not have to come up with a reason why I can't go to a place. It's like, the reason is there. We're in a pandemic. I cannot go.
Right.
But yeah, so this has actually been great for me. I'm not the type of person that needs to be out in a group setting anyway. So yeah, I don't mind I feel like I'm doing my part. I'm staying at home. I'm staying out of the way. I'm keeping other people safe. Yeah. Oh, and the other really big thing is that I continued to test positive until April.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And and I learned that that's you can continue to test positive, but not be contagious. But yeah, I stayed home. I just stayed in the house because I was like, I don't know, what, I know that they say that, but you just never know. So yeah, I continued to test positive until April, when everybody else after the quarantine, they all tested negative. I tested positive still for weeks, months down the line.
Yeah. It was so strange.
Mm-hmm.
And now I mean, I don't know how it is there, but my girls, they went back to school this fall, after like a year and a half of virtual school. And that here the schools are basically like, if you come in contact with someone that tested positive for COVID, they just require you to wear a mask, because masks are no longer mandatory here. Yeah. So they just require you to wear a mask. And then the person that tested positive for COVID, they only have to stay at home for a few days and they can come back to school. So it's like, my girls, they have their hand sanitizers and they have their masks. They're not allowed to take their masks off. It is very scary, because we're practicing precautions in our home.
That is scary. That is scary. I don't even know what to say. A few days, and if you're exposed, to just wear a mask.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
You don't have to social distance. Just wear a mask for 3 days. I've received 2 calls since the beginning of the school year about my kids being exposed to someone that has tested positive for COVID.
When I tested, so when I first fell ill and I didn't go to work that Monday, I called the kids' school and I let them know the kids are going to be virtual. Just so you know, I'm not feeling well. They seem to be doing fine. I'll keep y'all posted. And then once I ended up getting my positive result and I called the school, the kids, their entire class went home. They sent their entire class home that day. And they, like all of the teachers, all 3 teachers, all 3 classrooms went virtual for 10 days. That, I feel like that's how it should be,
Yeah, absolutely.
And no one in their classes, no one ended up testing positive, but they all had to go out. Teachers got tested, they had to quarantine, whatever, but everyone was fine. I don't know what I would do if I got a message that they just need to wear. When is the board meeting? I'm gonna be
right. But it's they cannot, because it comes from the governor. So there's no mandate. It's optional, but my kids have to wear a mask. That's not an option. And thankfully, that is why, I always tell them, see, this is why you are not getting sick, is because you're wearing a mask and you're keeping distance. So you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting me and everybody else in this household. Since you're the only one out there, and if you're not, you've got to do your part.
Exactly.
But then on the contrary, my son, he's in school now too, and he's in a pre-K, and they do not play there. They don't even let the parents come up to the door to pick up the child, without a mask. Yeah, they are, they're like, okay, our rules apply here, and they're very strict regarding that, and that is even more comforting because he's around, other 4-year-olds that, small kids. It's really hard to kind of, ensure that they're wearing the mask, enforcing it, because they're just, they just don't care to wear it all day.
Don't. Yeah. That's really good though. Because, and I know, like a lot, especially in the beginning, people were like, oh, well, it's not even impacting the kids. And so they weren't worried about the kids. And I would see kids all the time, no mask in the store. Like, I didn't even my kids did not go to the store with me, probably for the first year that we, were going through this. I didn't allow them to go anywhere. And if they did come with me, then it was like, I'm running in, like, okay, y'all can sit right here. But I didn't allow them to go inside because I'm like, y'all gonna be in there touching us. I was like, we're not doing this. But they understood. This has been a really crazy year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I know. And my personal opinion is that had everybody followed the rule and the guideline initially, we would have been out of this.
I agree because we saw it coming. What was it? It was like Super Bowl weekend. I feel like when I first caught wind of it, and it was still in Asia. And we hadn't reported, like they hadn't told us that it was here yet.
Yeah.
But it was still in Asia. And I do feel like had we followed the necessary precautions and taken swifter action, we definitely wouldn't be in the predicament that we're in now. So, yeah.
So I just hope and pray that, we get over this.
Right.
Hopefully within,
I agree.
6 to 12 months so we can get back to
normal. Some type of normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So, I enjoy reading your posts and updates on social media all the time. I love your humor. And so you already talked about the employment of your kids and stuff, but how about your, I don't know, should I call, it's not an obsession, but
no, that is my voice. Listen, okay. Listen. He knows me.
I know that he knows
you. So for those of you who are listening in or who are watching, Benisa is talking about my relationship with Tremaine Alden Neverson, better known to the general public as Trey Songs.
I don't even know his government name.
That's baby. Okay, that's baby. So if you go to my social media, which is bam_ambi, you'll see that I have images of pictures of us throughout our time together. Pictures of us throughout our time together. No, but really what I've done over like the past couple of years is like I photoshopped myself into his pictures, and it really started out as just like something fun, but now it's like people actually look forward to me doing that. Yeah. It's so funny. Like anytime that I post it, I always get like a ton of messages like, oh my gosh, I was waiting for you to do something with this one. So like I photoshopped myself into his pictures, and I saw him for the very first time in 2005. I don't know if y'all remember Singular, but Singular, the cell phone company, was doing like a free concert at like it was like a college tour or whatever. And he came to TSU and there was a free concert. So I got to see him there, like when he had his braids and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I'm gonna meet him one day. So anyway, fast forward, now it's Instagram time. I'm like photoshopping myself into his pictures, which is a lot of fun. It's very silly, but it also makes people laugh. And like I've already said before, I love to do that. It like brings people joy. It brings me joy to do it too. It's so funny. I'm like, you are so extra. I really, really laugh at myself after I make these. And over the years, I've gotten pretty good. Like, they're starting to look more and more realistic. So then in May of 2019, he did a show in Austin. Well, not a show. Let me not say that because he didn't sing. He did a hosting event at a club in Austin. And I went to see him. And there was like this section, this VIP section. And the whole time I'm like, if I can just get into that section and like make eye contact with him, he's gonna call me, like he's gonna tell me to come stand by him. And so I did that. Like I finagled my way, and it was a whole event, okay? Because security was like, you're not about to get past me. You don't have on a wristband, so you don't belong in this area. And I was just like, that's fine, I'll be back. So anyway, security they were like distracted by someone else. And so I got past security and into the section, and I was like, okay, just be cool. And because I needed to get up on the table, but again, I didn't want security to like spot me that I was back there. So I was like, just, trying to act cool behind the ropes, whatever. And then I made my way up onto the table area, and I sit on top of the table, and I was like, okay, I'm here. This is it. I'm like, okay, I'm here. This is it. And so I was just standing there, and I'm like, just staring at him. I'm like, look at me. Like in my head, I'm like, look at me. And so he does, like, he makes eye contact with me, and I just like wave, like really cute, like, hey. And then when I did that, he like tapped his friend, one of the guys that's always with him, which is great. I know his entire circle, but anyway. So he like tapped his little friend's shoulder and was like pointing like, like go get her. And so they did. So they came and got me. And when I was going up there, security tried to stop me, and I was like, no, I told you I was going to get in. Thank you. And so they pulled me up there, and I got to talk to him. I got a hug, I got a handshake, kissed me on my cheek. It was everything. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I was trying not to like fangirl out. And I only got to take one picture with him because I waited the entire night. So my phone was on 1% by the time I made it to him. Yeah, it really sucked. So I only got to get like one picture with him. And then that was it. But it was so nice. And he was super sweet, very respectful. It was so nice. And so then after that, I like posted my picture on my social media and was like, this is not a drill, y'all. Like, I really met him. And everybody was like, this is Photoshop. This is not real, because that's what I'm known for. I'm basically the little boy who cried wolf. And so people are like, this is not real. He liked my picture and then commented and was like, stop playing. We got mad pics together. And I was like, I was like, I told y'all they not Photoshop, they real. He said they real. But yeah, so that happened. And then recently he actually like reposted another one of my pictures because there was like this challenge for Valentine's Day, the How You Met challenge. And so I did that. It's like a bunch of different questions. It's like, how did you meet? Who's the better driver? Who's the better singer? Like, all of this stuff. And so I did one with like me and him. And he liked that picture, and then he reposted it onto his story as well. And so like all of his little fans, let me not say little, all of his fans were like coming to my page. They were in my inbox. They're like, he reposted you, girl. And they're commenting on the picture, and they're like, did you see? So anyway, yes, listen, it's not an obsession. This is a real life relationship. We basically, he has liked 2 pictures. He's reposted a picture. We basically go together now. So yeah.
I love it. You're just so humorous, and it does like, it just makes it fun. I think that's what it's like all about. I love seeing fun, positive stuff. And I know it has added to just my day. So thank you for doing that.
Of course. I know it's so funny. Like, I remember the very first one that I made, and I was like, you are doing the most. Anytime that I make them, honestly, I'd be like, Amber, come on now. But it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes, I don't know. There's just, like I said, there's just so much negativity. And then, you see people like posting like thirst traps and all this other stuff. And,
I feel like I've done like a really great job of adjusting what my timeline serves. Like in the past, probably like 2, maybe 3 years, like I've really, really cleaned up my timeline to like make it work for me, because we get so lost in social media, and it's so easy to do that, right? Like you can lose so much time just scrolling there. So I made it a point for myself to like follow other entrepreneurs, and this is I'm speaking solely about my personal Instagram, because my business Instagram is obviously like that's tailored. I got to start over. But for my personal Instagram, I follow other entrepreneurs. I follow news profiles. I follow like motivational and affirmations, and I tried to make it something that if I'm going to be like scrolling for hours, that I'm getting information. So like I follow NASA, I follow National Geographic, I follow, like, of course I still follow like the Shade Room and, like the gossip ones as well. But it's like less of that is on my feed than what it used to be. Like it used to be filled with like so much negativity and all of that, what you just said, like thirst traps or this or that. But now it's like my feed serves me. Like I'm scrolling, I get to see affirmations, and I'm like, oh, that's really great. I should write that down. Or I'm following other business owners and entrepreneurs, and I'm like, wow, that's a really great tip. Like, I can go and jot that down. Or, oh, they said I can use this app for this. Let me go and see how that works. And so it's like, now I'm not just scrolling for hours and getting lost. The social media app that I probably get stuck on though is TikTok. So I set a timer for myself for TikTok, because that one is like, on your For You page, you really can't control what's showing up there because it's based on what you interact with. So TikTok is one that I will say is like, I have to put a timer on myself and, get on and get off, so that I don't just like spend my entire day watching those little 1-minute clips. Something else that I've done too is I have a bedtime schedule. If you have an iPhone and you don't know this, there is a setting that you can use in your alarm app. You can set a bedtime for yourself. So my bedtime kicks on at 9:45. So my phone goes into D&D and it locks itself. And you have to click dismiss in order for it to open up, like in order for you to open it up. So it's not like the regular like face unlock and you swipe. You have to click dismiss and then open it. So you have to think about, okay, well, why am I going into my phone right now when it's supposed to be, wind down time for bed? And that has really helped me to like limit my screen time. But yeah.
There's even options too where I actually modified it recently too. I do that too with the bedtime, but there's now also options where you can literally like mute all those apps.
Yeah, so and that's what I told you too. Like, I don't get my notifications for social media. I don't have all of my notifications are turned off. So I don't get anything. If I'm not in the app, it's not going to alert me that something has been sent my way. And it's just so that I can like limit the amount of time, because it's good, but I want it to really be something that works for me and not me working for it. So
yeah, absolutely. My personality can't even handle all those notifications, so I have to turn it off.
Right.
I just like, I know that I'll look, especially back when Blackberries were in and everybody was using those, and then I would hear the little ding for every email and it would automatically prompt me to go in and and look. But I turned all that stuff off, because you will never be able to literally like just kind of wind down.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about BAM the Trainer.
Yes, awesome. So BAM the Trainer is my consulting business. So this is what I mentioned briefly before. So this is a business that I use that helps small business owners kind of develop their presence in social media, build up their platform, settle into their niche. I also help with business plan writing, employee training, employee hiring. So it's really kind of like an extension of human resources, because that's something that most small business owners are missing. That's the piece that's missing, because are you really able to bring in that resource or that personnel full time to assist you with those things? And likely the answer is no. So I offer a number of different a la carte options. So you can consult with me. We can find out, really what type of help is it that you're needing. I can help with job description drafting, with policy drafting, figuring out what policies you even need to have for your business. It's a lot. It's so much. And I really, really enjoy it, because I feel like this portion of the business is something that's missing. But I also have a very, like my background is in customer service, right? So that's really my focus. But human resources is a lot of, it's customer centric, right? Because the customer is the business and the employee. Right. So I bring like this I don't even know how to say, like this fluidity into the structure of the business that you're trying to develop. And I can help you recognize, like, if you are going to scale this business, this is the type of employee that you're going to need. But in order to make this employee successful, here are the policies and the procedures that you're going to need to establish first before you even bring someone in the door. And then for businesses that already have an extension of customer service, or you have people that are working for you, then what I can offer are things like team building activities, team building or team learning sessions where we can kind of talk about your communication styles, help the team figure out what's the best way for us to communicate when we're collaborating on projects. So there's so much that's there. Like, my advice to people who are looking for a business consultant or looking to utilize me in that capacity is always like, we need to sit down and talk about what it is that you're already doing, and then I can see where my expertise is going to fit in. I will be completely honest and say that I am extremely selective when it comes to the clientele that I work with. I am not the type of person that will just accept business for the sake of accepting it. I need to be able to, I also need to be able to find value in the business model that you have already established as well. And oftentimes I end up becoming a huge customer for my clients, which I love, because it just lets me know that I am 100% backing the product or the service or whatever it is that they're offering. And I feel comfortable in that. And I feel motivated to, help them grow that. So I'll be honest and say that if you are trying to figure out what your niche is, we can do coaching calls, we can talk about where you think you want to be, and I can help you really drive that home. But yeah, I feel like the business world is just get in there. Like, anybody who's listening, if you're thinking about starting a business or you're thinking about selling a product or whatever the case may be, I definitely recommend that you get your foot in the door, because there's so many opportunities that are out there. And even if it's like not directly working in the business, but maybe you're you go into a business with a partner or you assist in that way. I'm all for it. Like, I feel like for me, it's been like a grounding experience, because like I said, I still have my 9-to-5, which in all honesty, I have no really motivation to leave that, because there's a lot of fulfillment that I'm receiving in that role, and I love what I do. But then there's my business side, which allows me a little bit more freedom and a little bit more flexibility to kind of see like where my skills can align and really push others. So it's like the two of them together for me is a very grounding experience. I know for some, they would do one or the other. And I support that fully too. I can help you figure out where to get your funding from, how to place your money so that your business can really work for you. But yeah, I'm here.
That's awesome. Yeah. I do something very similar as well, and I come from the hospitality background. And I truly believe that, the success to a business, especially when you start thinking of employees and everything, when you're starting to hire, it's developing a culture and making sure that you like wrap your team in it and you give them the tools to be successful, and by onboarding them properly. And what I'm teaching also is the consistency part. Like, anybody can come up with any type of module or product or service, but it's the consistency and your presence on social media too that defines your success. So just, with me, I've been doing my own thing for about 3 going on 4 months. And just because of, the way I present myself and the things that I do and my consistency has allowed me to, actually grow my business to beyond my expectations within those first 3 months, I would say, where I thought I would just like sit and not be taken serious because I'm a small business owner now and not working for a corporation. But yeah, I completely agree. And that's why I shared with you, I would really love to talk to you offline too. Yes, for sure. We should put something on the calendar. But yeah, I agree that consistency is extremely important. And then empathy as well. Because it's like,
especially with today's workforce, like, I don't know if y'all know anything about the trends of people coming into businesses now, but the people who are looking for jobs and for careers, this group is not the same as what we were seeing before. They are really, really tapped into like corporate social responsibility. They're looking at the ethics as a whole of the organization, and they're looking for something that is going to serve the values that they have already established for themselves. So empathy is extremely important. Effective communication has got to be at the top of your list. And then in order for all of those pieces to work together, you still need the policies and the procedures for the employees to abide by. You can't just be out here hiring people and then giving them paraphernalia and saying, okay, yeah, you're a part of the team. I gave you a hat. Now go do your job. Like there are more pieces to the pie that they want to consume that you really have to make sure you're hitting. Like total rewards have to be on point because the cost of living is ridiculous now. People want to be able to take time off from work. They want to be able to work remotely. So, what is it that you can, how can you position your business in such a way that makes you an employer of choice? And really sets your employer branding apart from these other businesses, especially if you're a small business owner. You're competing with all of these larger corporations that are really coming in. Some of them are even coming into these smaller towns, like or into these cities, like for example Austin. When I left, there was a Tesla facility that had just been built, and they hired thousands of people. Google. Apple is creating a location there, Facebook, so it's important for small business owners who are needing employees to recognize, what are some of the pieces that you can bring to the employees that these other corporations are either missing the mark on, or they're not really doing effectively. And so,
I agree. You have to like operate your small business with like a big business mind.
You have to. You always have to. It's so funny because when I first started working for so I'm still in the same company. So I've been with the same company for 8 years, but we were acquired. And so I'm with now the corporation that acquired the business that I used to work for. But when I first got hired, I really didn't see the large scale opportunities within that business. And it's so funny when I look back and I think about, how small minded I was and how much I limited or how many limiting thoughts I placed on the business. I really just laugh at myself because it's like, imagine how differently I could have impacted my own career if I would have realized sooner on what the big picture was, right? Like, I feel like oftentimes we put ourselves into this box and we get comfortable being there because it's like, oh, well, that can never happen. When the reality is like, no, it could, and you should be planning for that. Like, even if it doesn't, you should always be thinking with that mindset, like, this could be bigger than me. And again, this is something that I'm always telling clients that I'm working with. I'm like, I see where you're going with this. Like, I see that you're liking how this is functioning, but imagine if you were to be approached by an angel investor, or imagine if you were to be approached by a person who wanted to take partnership in your business and they wanted to grow it to this size, then how are you going to function with that? How are your policies going to adapt to that? But in the experience that I've had, it's just so funny because we always think smaller first rather than bigger. And I feel like we need to go with the bigger picture every single time and then package the leftovers. You know what I mean? Like, don't put small portions on your plate. Give yourself as much as you can take and then package the leftovers.
I've heard one of my old colleagues say, always dress for the next position. And that was something that really stuck with me, that I also then always shared with my new hires and with my, or with my employees in general. And as they got promoted, okay, so you're a supervisor now I need you to embody the role of a manager.
Exactly.
So, just you have to act within that role to just actualize it, or for it to come to life.
Right.
Because if people view you as a leader or somebody, that they can, like, a lot of people are like always envisioning, like, I can see you being a general manager or regional,
Yeah.
So if you embody that it's going to happen.
Exactly. Very true.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you, and that is, who inspires you and why?
Ooh, this is a good question. I feel like my inspiration comes from a lot of different places. Like, if we speak just very specifically about the type of work that I'm doing now, my inspiration was, or is, still is, it comes from a woman by the name of Myra Golden. And she is actually a customer service trainer, motivational speaker. And I saw her for the first time at a training event. Like, my company actually hired her to come in and do some work with our customer service team. And after that first, we were in a full day session. And at the first break that we had, one of my colleagues, while we were just grabbing coffee or running to the restroom, I can't remember, she just said, Amber, I could really see you doing what this woman is doing. Like, she was like, you do so well with our team, because at the time I was like the default trainer for our team or whatever. And she was like, you do such a great job. Like, when we have new hires, you teach so well, people just naturally listen, whatever. And I was like, you really think I could do, you really think I could do that? And she was like, absolutely. Like, I totally could see you doing that. And I kind of was just like, yeah, no. Like, I blocked it off. I was like, I have too many kids. Like, like, I'm not going to have time. And, like, I really limited myself in that moment. But I kept in contact with Myra. And as my career changed, as I, really started to branch out and get into these more leadership roles and having more experience with facilitation, I was like, okay, no, I really enjoy doing this. Like, this is my thing. I can teach people. I have a way with bringing the information, making it digestible. My way of bringing training and developing content is very intuitive. Like, once I have the opportunity to speak with that person, I can understand right away what their learning style is and what information needs to be placed where in order for them to retain it and be successful. So I kept in touch with her. I actually had like a couple of calls with her, and she worked with me, letting me know like what her career path looked like, the things that she did, the type of trainings she went to, and how she put herself out there. And I kind of just mimicked her formula. Like, that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do these things. So she's served and still serves as a huge inspiration to me. She's also vegan, and natural, and she's a mom. But I was super inspired by her presence, by her, leaving the corporate world and, running this business, going from town to town, from corporation to corporation, and providing them with this individualized training for their people. And so she has been a huge inspiration to me. Aside from her, I would have to say it's really going to be any single person who believes that they have it. Like, anybody that I just feel the confidence oozing from you is an inspiration to me, because I'm like, yes, like, you are living in it. You are doing the things that you need to do. Like, that is inspiring and motivating to me. And I just love to see it. So I'm like, I couldn't just name another one person. It would be probably hundreds of people that I can go down the line and just list that have inspired me in a number of different ways throughout the years. But if I have to say, like, specifically for the career path and things that I'm doing now, it would be Myra Golden.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'll have to research her. I'm not familiar with her.
Yeah, I'll send you her info on Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So how can our listeners and viewers find you on social media if they want to see your next Photoshop
yes,
or find some inspiration from your from you and your children, or
yeah.
even if they want to consult with you, how can they reach you?
Okay, so there are a couple of different ways. So my personal Instagram is bam_ambi. That's BAM_AMBI. And my business Instagram is bam the trainer. And there's also one more avenue that they can take a look at, and that is Parenting is Ruffin. And that is the family Instagram page. And they can have a look there as well for some updates on the kids and how their jobs are going and things of that nature. So yeah, check out bam_ambi if you want to see me and Tremaine. You can check out Bam the trainer if you would like to work with me. And then Parenting is Ruffin if you want to see some updates on the kids.
And she's not the Amber Ruffin that everyone is mistaking her by.
We should have talked about that. I have so many DMs about, oh, Amber, I loved you on the whatever show. I loved this episode. I loved it. I am not Amber Ruffin, the talk show host. I am Amber Ruffin, the mompreneur. But yeah, so yeah, don't confuse the two. She is amazing though, by the way. If you've never watched one of Amber Ruffin's shows, I highly recommend it. She's hilarious and informative. But yeah, I get so many DMs about like, oh, we loved you. We loved your episode tonight. That was so great. And okay, guys.
I didn't know people were doing that.
It happened. It even happens on Facebook. It actually happens on Facebook more than it does on Instagram. Oh, yeah? But yeah,
you should be like, okay, follow these handles. Right. You know, like that's how you.
I know. I should just be like, okay, well now you can follow me here.
Yeah. You should take advantage of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So funny.
Awesome. Well, Amber, it was so nice to catch up with you and talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my podcast. For everyone watching or listening, you can hear this podcast on Apple, Google, Breaker Radio, and Spotify.